maybe you want to do a little bit of a deeper dive here and there with some of the material, maybe move ahead a little bit. If that is what you'd like to do, if that's your prerogative, so be it. I would like to insist, though, that everyone try to follow the progression of these various lessons, of these various videos, mainly because I think it unfolds in a very natural progression. If you've already seen lesson one and lesson two, we started off with what should be your approach to public speaking, because its application has so many uses in business communication. Lesson two was really dealing with the anxiety of speaking in front of people. That could be something that's really holding you back. So rather than lay out all of the tools first, I'd like to talk about practical application, because so often we don't want to wait until the very end of the train to get to what is ultimately the conclusion. This is, as I've said over and over and over, a matter of day by day, week by week, month by month, you begin to improve your public speaking. So I'd like to look at how you access these different tools. Some are going to be new to your ears here today, but don't worry. Everything that I'm talking about will be revisited in future lessons. So we will do deeper dives. Let's talk about something that everyone has experienced in business, and that is meetings. Meetings are hard. There are a lot of challenges that go into meetings. So we're going to look at it from what is holding you back from potentially being able to be a really strong contributor in various meeting situations. We'll look at just meetings in general, and then we'll look at the heightened expectations and challenges of meetings with your superiors, the people that you report to, because there are some interesting considerations and some interesting dynamics that do go into that. The biggest challenges that we have in terms of meetings are, and I'll list the three of them right here. Number one is jumping in. Number two is the feeling of being judged. Number three is making your point. So we're going to dissect each one of these three: jumping in, being judged, and making your point. For the first, jumping in should incorporate some of the physical aspects of speech that we've already talked about. The idea of having forward momentum, so it doesn't seem like you're coming out of left field with whatever it is you're saying. Usually, unless you specifically are asked to contribute, you're going to have to make your presence known. And it's really important that you do have a presence in these meetings. Of course, I'm going to leave it to each individual to determine the quality of that contribution. So I'm not going to tell you what to say, because obviously everybody's business is slightly different. But just overcoming that obstacle of knowing when the right time is and how do I get that done. That's what I want to get a clean perspective on. So jumping in is difficult, but you've got to use some of the physical tools that we've already talked about. You've got to use your breathing and you've got to use your gesturing. Very often, because so much of any individual's message is conveyed through body language, you can get a message across that you want to contribute simply by using your unspoken language, which is your body language. So if you feel that you want to contribute something, don't be passive and don't be shy about using a gesture to make it seem like you're about to speak or that you would like to speak. Now, that all sounds well and good, like you're going to gesture as if you're about to speak. But that brings up the other quality, the other the other technique that you have to use in meetings, which is giving yourself permission to retrace. The feeling always is that the ship has already left the dock. What we were talking about 30 seconds ago may not be something that has the exact relevance to what it is I want to bring up. Or I may feel like I'm late to the party because we've already moved on to another subject. Anytime that you contribute in a meeting, it is a matter of retracing back to that point. So you've got to give yourself permission to retrace. I know it's something that until I really was in business and corporate sales and understanding how these meetings all go together, it wasn't until I experienced that I understood that there was a need to always retrace, because what you're doing then is framing what you're about to say so that its relevance resonates with the people who are listening. And so it also you feel tethered to the conversation. Now, going back to using the physical aspects of speech, when you are retracing, it's a good idea to actually gesture toward the last person who was talking about the topic you want to contribute to, and gesture to them so that it is an even stronger sense of relevance to what people have already heard. This is really a matter of getting rid of those various obstacles, the things that get in the way, the things that stop you short from being a contributor at a meeting. So jumping in is a big deal. Also, to give yourself the sensation of forward momentum, make sure that you take a nice deliberate breath right in the beginning, because whatever it is you're going to say, you don't want to ask people to ask you to repeat it. Could you say that again? We didn't quite hear it. This is not a time to not be bold. So it's something that you have to get used to. The breathing, the gesturing, the permission to retrace. Going back to meeting challenge number 2 is being judged. It's a difficult one to overcome. We all have a sense of being judged, but there are two techniques that I advise that you utilize, and that is what I call riding the energy of attention plus positive perceptions. So let's talk about that for just a moment. When we were talking about public speaking anxiety, we introduced the term of the energy of attention. And we know that that is going to come toward us as well. And we know that it's a trigger for being judged. So I want to reiterate, be prepared for that wave, that sensation to come toward you, and realize that you really do want everyone to use that judgment to judge that you have something important to contribute. So that's what I mean by riding the energy of attention. You're going to feel that. This is a bold moment for just about anyone to experience. You've got to get used to it. You've got to get accustomed to it, recognizing that the energy of attention is going to be there. It will trigger that sense of judgment, but use it to your advantage. So then the other thing that we want to talk about is positive perceptions. Realize that the middle ground between speaking up and not speaking up is basically being invisible. So really, that in business, that sounds like you're not really doing anything. Meetings are opportunities. Make sure that you see them as being that. We'll get into a few more details because there's quite a few techniques, quite a few coaching awarenesses that I want to make sure that you become aware of. But you're using some of the tools that we've already talked about. Now, when we look at the third challenge in meetings, and that is making your point. Very often, it can feel like you're floundering to make that definitive point, and that can lose people's attention. So you do have to get to your point. Now, if you go back and we talk about retracing, framing, giving yourself an opportunity to give relevance to what you're going to say, then you don't start in neutral. You do have forward momentum. You know the energy of attention is coming your way, but you're going to look at it in a positive light. Having that opening statement is so important. I use the term bumper stickers. So, as you can see here on the screen, making your point is really a combination of two techniques: it's bumper stickers and using your body language wisely. Let's talk about bumper stickers. The reason that I came up with that term is because very often we can overstuff the things that we want to say. So, years ago, in order to circumvent my clients from going on and on and on and circling around what it is they want to say rather than getting to the point, I said, all right, what's the headline? What is the bumper sticker? Because even a headline gives you license to just keep expanding. That's not what will resonate with people. It's not what will get people's attention. I always say, make your point right in the beginning and then explain it. A bumper sticker is a bold statement. It does beg the question how, what, or why. That's where the explanation comes in. You then have to explain that bold statement. There is going to be some ambiguity about it, and it is bold, but it does tie into your physical presence, your willingness and permission to jump in and retrace and frame, and then utilizing these bumper stickers. Using your body language is really important. We talked about it in both the first and second lessons, where you get to pick what words you want to punctuate with your body language. Don't leave it out. 50% of a message is conveyed with body language. If you're making your point, your body language is going to tell a lot of the story for you, especially in an environment where many people are probably trying to make their point as well. Now, let's talk about meetings with superiors. They can be rather challenging. So, let's look at the challenges that are inherent in those types of meetings. We have the challenges are dealing with distractions, showing confidence, and differing points of view. So, if we look at dealing with distractions, the two techniques that I advise you use is understand meeting dynamics and know your agenda. When it comes to understanding meeting dynamics, you're talking to someone who is your supervisor. That person is probably the supervisor of several people, kind of goes with the definition of the term. Usually they're taking in a lot of information. They don't need to be overloaded. In other words, what I just described about utilizing bumper stickers, making your point, then explaining it is very important because you don't want to give all of the details and not get to the point. Give them the point, let them ask for the details. That's a really good understanding of meeting dynamics. You also have to know what your agenda is. And what I mean is, you should really stop to think what you want to get out of the meeting. And I don't mean just that you want to look good in front of your supervisor or supervisors. It's not a matter of that. There needs to be something that you want to gain. It can even be an insight. It can even be that you want to make sure that you get this point across. Just trying to look good in front of people is not enough. And it's going to get you into trouble because you're not going to be able to be as bold as I do believe you can be. When we go to the next challenge, That would be showing confidence. Well, we have a couple of techniques for that. You need to trust your bumper stickers and you need to follow the 3 ideas limit. When I say trust your bumper sticker is really a personal characterization of what it is that you want to talk about. It's not the official title. It's not a regurgitation of what the subject matter is. It is your perspective. You're taking a lot of information, a lot of due diligence that you've done, a lot of thinking about this topic and filtered it through your perspective to come up with a bumper sticker. They're already there. Everybody has them. You need to discover them and you need to trust them. Going right along with bumper stickers, we have the 3 ideas limit. Why 3 ideas? Well, first of all, we love things in threes. And second, 3 ideas is the most that people can process in one sitting. I suggest beginning with a bumper sticker and then offering 3 very short ideas that details can be asked for later. Again, now you're feeding into the way superiors would like things to be communicated to them. You want it clear. You do want it to be nice and crisp. So these are 2 very important things that help you to build and show confidence. The last challenge, differing points of view. 2 techniques. One is recognizing styles. And when I say styles, we're not talking about clothing, we're talking about communication styles. And the second technique that I advise is to develop your executive presence. As far as communication styles, yours may differ from the people that you report to. Recognize that there really are 5 major communication styles. They are aggressive, passive aggressive, submissive, and manipulative. Now, I did say that there were 5. The 5th one is actually the one that you want to be most often, and that is assertive. So understand that an aggressive personality is going to need to be able to talk. A passive aggressive personality, you've got to be able to see through the veil that they're putting up. Submissive will never ask for what they want, and manipulative will often undercut you by talking with other people. Information can come in third party. A lot of these things can happen. It goes back also to office dynamics. But you need to recognize that you have to make adjustments. And we'll go into this in much more detail. Again, this is an overview of why meetings can be so difficult to contribute in. The other thing that we have along with recognizing styles is developing your executive presence. What do I mean by that? I mean, when you see somebody who has executive presence, you understand the way they carry themselves, the way that they speak. So there is no shame in you learning from others and developing your own executive presence. Don't overstuff the things that you say. Get to the point. Make it a clear statement that can resonate with people. Use your body language to show confidence and ease in being in a situation. Make sure that you breathe because that will give you the opportunity to pause where necessary and give people a chance to process what it is that you're saying. That's a lot of challenges and a lot of techniques in a nutshell, but meetings are important and they will move you along in your career if you know how to contribute, how to speak, and how to be a true part of that team.